Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I will be analyzing the company of the VITA COCO, which if everything goes as planned, it should be going public this upcoming Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 in the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol COCO. As always, my aim with these videos is to summarize the most relevant aspects of the company, in my opinion, extracted from their S1 filing, which is publicly available, and if you want to check it out yourselves, the link to it is just down below in the description. And after the video, if you enjoy the company, if you think that it's interesting, you then can go and you should go and do your own due diligence on it before, of course, making any investment decision. With that said though, and before we go into the whole analysis, let me just quickly give you a short overview of the main topics that I will be covering today. Firstly, I will start with a general introduction to the company. We'll also look at some key metrics, followed by analysis of the industry and also competitors. Then we will look into the financials of the VITA COCO, and we will compare them to those of two other competitors that I selected, which in this case it will be Monster Energy and National Beverage. After this, we will look into the IPO price and valuation, and again we will compare the valuation of the VITA COCO with the two competitors that I just mentioned now. And finally, as always, I will be giving my personal opinion on the company and also my future plans with it. With that said though, and after I remind you that if you enjoyed the video, it would be super awesome if you could give it a like, and please also consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more IPO related videos also in the future. But with that said, let's go for it. The VITA COCO was founded in 2004 and sells mostly coconut water, although most recently they also expanded into other product lines. According to Euromonitor, it is the largest brand globally within the coconut and other plants water category, and they own 4 different brands at the moment. First, we have VITA COCO, which is the most famous one, the one that generates more sales, and includes coconut water, coconut oil, and coconut milk. Then we have Runa, which is a plant-based energy drink, then followed by Ever and Ever, which is a purified water brand, and finally we have PWR Lift, which is a flavored protein-infused water. Additionally, in 2016 they expanded into private label coconut water, which means that they don't only have sales from these 4 different brands, but also from selling basically private label. And they did this for 3 main reasons. First, to increase the branded share in the category, basically to give more visibility also to coconut water, and hopefully also drive more sales also to their private brands. Then to improve gross margins and to be able to sell to more customers without reducing the price point of their main brand, which is VITA COCO, and this way they can also attract other customers with it. As we will see later on though, out of all of these brands that we have mentioned, almost all the sales are generated with just VITA COCO and also the private labeling. On the production and manufacturing part of the water that they sell, this mostly takes place in Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Brazil. And from the total produce, roughly 2/3 of that of the coconut water come from Asia and 1/3 from Latin America. And it is also important to state that they work with 15 coconut water factories and 5 co-packaging facilities, but they don't own any, so they are just partnered with them. And finally, just a fun fact, which is that they basically break on average 2.5 million coconuts every day to extract water that then sell to the end customers. Furthermore, they are very devoted to helping the local communities of the producing countries of this coconut water. Some of the actions that they have taken included building new schools, teaching them how to increase the productivity, so basically they can get more out of the coconut trees that they have, and they have donated several thousands of dollars to all of these local communities. And this, for investors maybe like you and me, it's great because we think that the company is doing great things and not just thinking about themselves. But on top of that, it has the advantage for the VITA COCO that it's not just that, so the image of the company, but also by doing it, they are establishing like a trusted relationship with all these local communities, building long-term partnerships and assuring that they will have enough supply from all of these communities for a very long period of time. And also they do this of teaching them how to better cultivate to ensure that the production of the coconut water that they need to sell then is optimal. If we look at the year-over-year retail sales growth, we see that the VITA COCO brand has been growing more percentage-wise recently. If we look at the sales by channel, they are more or less equally spread between food trucks and mass, club, so large retail stores and warehouses, and other, which includes e-commerce, convenience, and food service. And then for distribution, they do direct-to-store delivery and direct-to-retailer warehousing with only 6% of broadline distribution partners. On the price point, VITA COCO is a premium brand. And if we compare the cost per ounce, and for those of you who might not be so familiar with ounces, 1 ounce equals approximately 30 milliliters. We see that it is more expensive than regular water, juices or soda drinks, but still cheaper than energy drinks or ready-to-drink coffee. And also compared to general coconut water, it is slightly more expensive. Moving into the industry, VITA COCO is clearly benefiting from the shift towards healthier products in general. And actually, in 2004, when it first started, the coconut water category within the US was estimated to be worth only $10 million. And today, it is worth $658 million according to Euromonitor, which is a great improvement. Moreover, currently, the total US beverage market is worth $111 billion and the natural segment of it approximately $13 billion. Globally, it competes in the $2 billion global coconut and plant water category. Looking at the year-over-year growth until 2026 for the different categories within beverages, we see that while generally sales are expected to grow at 9%, those of natural and specialty and wellness are expected to outperform with a 13% year-over-year growth. And finally, on this part, if we compare the coconut water sales growth versus the total water, we can also confirm the outpace from coconut water. Alright, so far we have that the segment in which VITA COCO operates in is expected to grow more than the average of its sector. But now let's go and look at the competitors. On it, we first need to highlight that VITA COCO is the leader in the coconut water market, and it has a market share in the US of 46% and of 70% within the UK according to IRI Custom Research, which is a lot and great numbers. And not only this, but it is also the leader by a lot, as it is larger than the next 10 brands combined by size. What are the brands though competing in the same space? Well, first of all, we have large multinationals like, for instance, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola or Nestlé that own many different beverage brands, some of which are directly competing with VITA COCO. But also there are other brands like, for instance, Red Bull, Monster, Dr. Pepper, National Beverage, Goya, Harmless Harvest, Body Armor, Bay Brands, Bang, Ocean Spray, Bubbly and Bay, amongst many others. And from all of these, it is important to note that the large brands like, for instance, Coca-Cola are also partial owners of some of these smaller competitors that I just mentioned. For instance, Coca-Cola has a 19.4% stake in Monster Energy and is also a minority stakeholder in the company of Body Armor. For the continuation of this video and for the comparison though, I have selected two different brands, Monster and also National Beverage. The reason I selected these two is first of all because both of these are publicly traded and we have all the information from them of revenues, net incomes and so on. And secondly, I selected these and not others like, for instance, Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola is massive. Its revenues are more than 100 times larger than those of VITA COCO at the moment. And to me, comparing these two companies is like comparing almost day and night. They are at completely different stages in their company lifespan, and while VITA COCO still has a lot of room for growth, Coca-Cola's growth has been stagnated already for several years. So for these reasons, I selected those two. In those cases, mostly what they do are both energetic drinks and also water and juice drinks. And I know that Monster Energy and National Beverage are not exactly the same as VITA COCO, but I feel like they're the best ones that we can more or less compare with. Before comparing them, let's go into the financials of VITA COCO. On this, and starting with revenues, we see that this grew by 9.4% between 2019 and 2020. And based on the first 6 months of this year, 2021, it seems like the growth trend will continue or even accelerate a bit during 2021. On sales, if we look at the graph on the screen, we can see that the international sales only account for 15% of the total sales of the company, and these come mainly from Europe. Out of these, the majority come from VITA COCO's coconut water with 62%, but we also see that private label also represents a big chunk. More concretely, private label sales represent 31% of the total sales. Then other are the sales from other brands, which as you can see represent a very small portion from the total. And something also to highlight on sales is that there is seasonality in their business, as sales are usually higher during summer months, so the second and the third quarter, in which it is warmer outside and it is of course nicer to have a fresh drink. Moving into the bottom line, I like it because the company is profitable, but there is still room for improvement on the margins. And finally, looking at the balance sheet, we see that the company has a debt ratio of 64.02%, which is pretty conservative, and it should improve after the IPO as they will raise more capital and pay down debt. Now we have had a look at the financials of VITA COCO, but let's compare them to those of the other two competitors. On it, we see that VITA COCO is much smaller than the other two in total sales amount, but despite this, it has been growing at similar rates. All of them are profitable, although Monster has much higher net income margins, ranging between 26 and 30%. And if we also compare the valuations, let's look first at that of VITA COCO. At the moment of preparing this video, the IPO price of VITA COCO is expected to range between $18 and $21 per share. On shares outstanding, I would like to do a bit of a pause and highlight something, which is that out of the 11.5 million shares that will be offered, only 2.5 million will be directly offered by VITA COCO. The other ones will actually be current shareholders selling their shares. Diving deeper into this, we see that all the selling shareholders, despite selling lots of shares, still remain invested in VITA COCO and with a pretty sizable amount, so I don't see it as a red flag. Additionally, Dr. Pepper is planning on buying 20 million shares from an existing shareholder in a private transaction, so here again we see a large multinational, like before we saw with Coca-Cola, taking stake in a more, let's say, emerging company. Anyways, taking the middle point for the range of the IPO price, also the amount of shares outstanding, but please note that this doesn't include possible conversion, options or others. If you want to check it in more detail, it is in the S1 filing down below in the description, and also including the sales for the past year 2020 and the net profits, we have a price to sales ratio of 3.48 times and a PE ratio of 33.13 times. And if we do the forward price to sales and P ratios, just multiplying the numbers for the first 6 months by 2, assuming that they will do at least the same till the end of the year, we have a forward price to sales ratio of 3.05 times and a P ratio of 57.31 times. And the decline in P ratio is basically due to lower net income margins for this year so far, despite having larger revenues. If we now compare the valuation to the two competitors, we see that Monster is trading at a PE of 32 and National Beverage at almost 30. In my eyes, based on this, I consider the valuation of VITA COCO to be pretty reasonable, especially because I see much more growth potential in it than for any of the other two brands, which are much more well established. What will I personally do though? Well, initially I will watch the IPO from the sidelines, but if it were to fall under $17 per share, I would really consider starting a position because I feel like I would already be getting a good deal at that price point. Of course, we need to consider that this is no hyper-growth company, so I don't expect it to grow at more than 5 to 10% year over year, but I think it's very feasible that they do this for the next 5 to 10 years to come. And also something that I really like is that they are a profitable company. It's not like some other IPOs that they are not profitable, and in a scenario with increasing rates and so on, I feel like it's also kind of a safer place as the company is already running and it's a sustainable business. And also, the final thing that I liked is that, as mentioned in their SEC filing, they are planning on growing, of course, organically by increasing the sales of their already existing brands, but they don't discard having other acquisitions, like they had one of Runa in 2018, which would of course also help increase that growth. And we also saw that the balance sheet is pretty well capitalized. They will collect more cash from the IPO, so they will definitely have money to invest either in contributing to grow their already existing brands or on acquiring other businesses. Anyways, that's it for today. Please remember that everything I share in this video are just my opinions, my calculations, and my research, which of course all of them could be wrong, and you should always do your own due diligence before investing in this or any stock, as I am no financial advisor. With that said though, what are your thoughts on VITA COCO? Will you be investing in its IPO? Please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, and as always, see you next time.